I think the biggest thing of how you can prepare for this is making sure you're in those meetings with senior business leaders. They're able to see what's going to be upcoming.
Welcome to the All in Recruitment podcast by Manatal, where we explore best practices, learnings, and trends with leaders in the recruitment space. If you like our content, please subscribe to our channels on YouTube and Spotify and stay tuned for our weekly episodes. I'm your host, Lydia, and joining us today is Jacqueline Abeel, the Talent Acquisition Business Partner at the Kraft Heinz Company. Good afternoon, Jacqueline. Great to have you with us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
So, Jackie, you've spent close to 8 years in the recruitment field and you've built some specialization in technical recruitment. So, walk us through your journey and what led you to TA. Why is this a field you feel so strongly about?
Yeah, so I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's in social work. So my past life before I got into recruiting is I used to be a social worker. So I worked with people of all different ages, specifically children and teens. And I loved that work and I loved helping people. But I decided that I also wanted to make money. And unfortunately, in the helping profession, it's just not there. Um, and I kind of always had my eye on recruiting. I have friends that were in recruiting and in that space. And I wanted to find something where I could help people still, and then also have fun doing it and make money. Um, and I also have a competitive. I played sports all my life too, so I have that competitiveness, and that's part of the drive in recruiting also.
Mm.
Um, and part of being in recruiting is you want to, in my mind, it's about winning, getting the best hire, and getting recognition, and that's always what I've sought out to get. Um, so I had reached out to this small recruiting firm and they took a chance on me. And when I first started there, I had 8 hires, I think, in my first week. And I kind of just like went full force into it. I had to take a significant pay cut to start that role, but because I got into that role, I made more money than I would even make if I still stayed in the helping profession. Um, and I've not looked back since. I thoroughly enjoy recruiting. I love getting to know people and hearing about their journeys and getting them new jobs and changing their lives. And I think definitely now being at the corporate level, I'm seeing it more because I have more time with those people. I used to work a lot in contract recruiting, so I didn't have as much time. It was very much go, go, go. But now that I'm in the corporate side, I have more time to put care and thought into how I work with individuals.
And so you've been with Kraft Heinz for some time now. What might be some key areas of focus for this role?
Yeah, so I'm coming up on a year, but it feels like I've been here a really long time. So I specialize in all roles IT and global business services. So under IT could be a data engineer, solution architect. Um, it could be a head of IT infrastructure, cloud engineers, those types of roles. And then the global business services, those are any roles that fall under that. So it could be it's a lot of like finance and data roles. Mainly, I handle all roles in North America, so Canada and US. I am working on some roles in London and Amsterdam, but that's mainly my focus.
So technical recruitment. So what might be the process behind that? Walk us through maybe the beginning and how things are done at Kraft Heinz. From the point of requisition, I understand you're also remote, right?
Yeah. Yep. So typically when we get a requisition, it has to go through a slotting process and be approved. Once it's approved, we have a kickoff call that we call that. That happens with the hiring manager. And there we go over all questions about the role. I usually also try to bring insights about how many candidates are in that area with that skill set. How hard is it going to be? So I go over that. I go over expectations of when I'm going to send over candidates, usually within 3 days, when I expect feedback, which is usually in a day, and how quickly do they want this role to start. And I usually have my HR business partner in that meeting with me. So he's able to kind of balance out if there's anything that hiring manager may say, that he's able to be there as that other voice, which is extremely helpful in this space. And that's typically how the process goes once we get a role to start. the expectation in the past was that we had to fill a role in 50 days. But that has recently changed, where Kraft Heinz is more focused on quality than they are with trying to fill a role in that amount of time, which I think is a great thing to do because, again, that will lead to, I think that I'm very good at already having quality hires, but I think it will get even better without having to, race to the finish.
And for technical recruitment, what might be the approach towards assessments, for instance?
As far as traits, obviously we want them to have the software skills that we may need for the role. But outside of that, it's important for us to have the right fit for our business, the IT business, and Kraft Heinz. So really, I'm looking for someone that has ambition, a desire to succeed, and then also a diverse candidate. It's so important at Kraft Heinz. One of our values is we demand diversity. And as part of every interview process, I also want to make sure that there's typically always at least one woman and one person of color in the interview when there's 3 people at the end. So that is a huge thing for me. Outside of those traits, I would say, also a passion. They have a passion and a desire to succeed. They want to be a part of a culture that, even though Kraft and Heinz separately is old technically, but together we're a new company, and we want someone that wants to be a part of that innovation.
And I noticed actually that you've also created recruitment strategies that are meant to fulfill business needs now and also in the future, right? So what might be some ways to think about future-proofing recruitment?
Yeah, I think this is so important, not just in technical recruiting, but in all areas of recruiting. I think the biggest thing of how you can prepare for this is making sure you're in those meetings with senior business leaders. They're able to see what's going to be upcoming. What is the vision for the next few years, the next year? We have something currently within IT that's called IT 2025. And that is, they already have an outlook of what functions are going to need specific roles. So what I have done is I've partnered with one of those leads to try to work with him on how we can bring future talent in. One of those strategies is to start bringing in people that have just graduated, start a boot camp and a program so we can start getting that talent. Because the thing that we've seen that we've been missing is, since I've started, I have not hired anyone with under 5 years of experience. And we need to start growing them from, as soon as they graduate, because people are going to grow out of these roles. So I think that's important. On top of that, pipelining. When I know that I get roles consistently, I always kind of have on my eye, and I have a search that goes in the background of those people that could be used for different positions in the future. Let's say if I had good candidates that did not fill the role, did not become the new hire, I have an area where they can be, I can reach out to them in the future. But not only those people, but always just having searches in the back of my mind, because I know that I get data engineers and cloud engineers. So just always keeping a pipeline of potential candidates as well.
It's interesting that you say you've diversified that strategy to also include, campus hiring has always been on, but it's also interesting to see how that has gone into the mix as well, because ultimately you'll also be creating a workforce that is multi-generational. You've got the depth of a company that's old, and then the newness or the startup mentality of a youngish merged company. What's the role of talent acquisition business partners to make sure that you're managing this multi-generational workforce well?
I would say in a nutshell, not only are we recruiters, but we are business partners as well. We have to partner with hiring managers, and we have to partner with senior leaders to make sure we are bringing in the right people, not only in a timely fashion, but the right talent in general. Does this make sense for the business? So honestly, I would say that is the number one thing before recruiting, is making sure that I have the right outlook and I know the types of people that we're going to bring in. The second part of it is making sure that my job postings are attracting the right type of people, that they have the right language in them, that they're reaching all different ages, all different types of people, and that also that I'm making sure I'm educating these hiring managers on the type of how their teams are supposed to look. that we shouldn't just have a team of just all white men. We need to have a diversity in that team. So they trust me to be that partner. And I think that is another huge thing in this role, is to have trust. If they trust you, they know that they can come to me and I will be able to show them insights on how we can get the best hire.
And we're now seeing many trends in TA and also in out there among candidates, especially that it includes a rise that we see in contract work and also the need to build more connectivity in a workforce that is increasingly fragmented or distributed. And then you also have to think about maintaining the productivity of these teams that are all over the place, right? So soft skills, teamwork, etc., they continue to become critical as technical skills, right? As companies look to make sure that their teams are strong enough to go through periods of uncertainty. So when you look out for top talent, what are some traits that you search for, Jackie?
Regarding top talent, I think that somebody needs to not only be independent, but also collaborate well with others. We're really big on that here. I think that the good thing is that they give people their autonomy, but they also want them to be a contributor on a team as well. So I think, that, and somebody that is passionate about their craft, I think is so important. We don't want to bring people here that kind of have a lackluster attitude and want to just kind of sit back. We want people to go after it, get their hands dirty.
So what constitutes a successful hire, Jackie?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had touched on this briefly before, but one being a diverse hire. I think that is important here. And I think outside of that is the ambition, the desire to succeed, and somebody that tells me on a call that they want to grow to an associate director, they want to grow to different levels at the company. I think that if on those calls, if they are talking about what growth opportunities they want to do or they see for themselves, I think that's huge. I think, again, soft skills are important, but I think being outgoing and able to have a voice, if you're able to talk to people on different levels, have those relationships with stakeholders, then it will go a long way. And as long as I've been here, the successful hires that I've seen, I've brought those people in.
And they've developed in the company and they've shown progress.
Yeah, I mean, one of my first hires, they wanted to promote her after 6 months, but we don't promote until you're here a year. But she has had exceptional reviews from customers and clients about how, fantastic her work is. And that's the type of things that I want to see when I hire someone.
So how would you describe the role of a talent acquisition business partner today? Like, what do they need to be, or what skills should they have to be successful as a TABP today?
Yeah, I think being able to work with business leaders and hiring managers and having those successes, I think is a huge part of this. You have to do that first before you can recruit, because if you don't have that trust, if you don't have that relationship with them, then you're not going to be able to hire the right person. If you go to them and say, this is what the market looks like, is there flexibility on what skills we could have in this role? Then if they trust you, they could say, there's some flexibility. We can train this person. And I think if you have that relationship, that leads above all. And then recruiting comes after that. Having good job descriptions comes after that. And it continues on from there.
What makes, just talking about job descriptions and that outward language, when you speak to a candidate and give them that insight into the company, what are the elements that make up a good quality interview for a technical role, for instance?
Yeah, I think before we used to have very long job descriptions, and that what we've noticed is that more people are applying on mobile devices now than ever. So I think mostly you need to keep it to one page, right? Also, people want to see benefits when they're applying to a job. That is intriguing to people, and they know what they're getting themselves into. So we structure it that way. Putting the location and the times of their working hours is something else that we added in there. Also, instead of having every single bullet point from the job description, we do it as a preview. It's just a preview of the job. When somebody is actually in the interview process, they get the full job description. And I say that at the bottom of the job description, it does say this is a preview. But after the benefits piece, it says what's on the menu, right? Because we're trying to incorporate it with our brands. And it's only 6 bullet points because we don't want someone to have to go, you don't want to go through all of these points to see what they're looking for. That's your responsibilities. And then the next area is the recipe for success. Apply now if this sounds like you. Those bullets are in first person. I have project management skills. I have led a team of 5+ people. We've removed education and years of experience to show that we're open to all levels of individuals, so they don't feel that they could not be qualified for the role, but they think that there's a chance that they could be. And honestly, because of this new format that we have started, I think it's been about a month now, the success that I've had from it has been tremendous. I used to have maybe 5 to 10 applicants. I have 20+ applicants now, and I'm doing a lot less. I'm not doing as much recruiting as I used to because we've shaped our job descriptions to be more of what people want to see. They want to read something and be like, I have done that.
And now we see widespread use of AI to generative AI. And we're talking about, generating job descriptions, as you just mentioned, there are different ways in which we approach that. And AI has gotten into many aspects of the business, in fact. So how do you think TA professionals can benefit from artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I think, something that just came out, I think LinkedIn is about to roll out, is if you know a specific job that's going to come up in LinkedIn, you can choose that job. Like, let's say a software engineer, and they will you put those skills in there, it will auto generate the whole job description, which is definitely a good time saver for somebody that needs to have job descriptions. I think that that's one thing. I think another thing that could be really useful with AI is if you're able to upload a job description and it can pull out those keywords and create a search for you. It just will be a huge time saver to have those things. I mean, not that it's significant now, but sometimes you could have the call with the hiring manager and the job description and think you understand the job, but you may not totally understand it. But that's the beauty of AI, is that they can pull out what they see as those important things, and they can bring up profiles that look like what the job description is. So I think for recruiting, I mean, that would be huge.
And there are many automation tools out there in the market, such as ours in Manatal. So what kind of impact, in your experience using them, what kind of impact do you think these technologies and tools have on recruitment, or have had on recruitment so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, like those AI tools will be really helpful with generating new documents and things that you can share with hiring managers and candidates in order for a recruiter to have to do that extra legwork. And I think companies are always going to need recruiters because people always are going to want that face-to-face interaction because they want to know what the experience is like at the company. But if you have a feature on a career site that is a chat and somebody wants to know about their application or see where they're at in the process, that could be super helpful in order to limit, we want to have those conversations with candidates and be able to be consistent and talk with them on a regular basis. But if we're not able to, if there's a chat function where you can just ask that and they're able to give you that information, I mean, I think that would also help a lot.
And you mentioned something critical, which is the experience, right? That in-person experience. So let's talk about the candidate experience a little bit. What are some ways you can ensure candidate care throughout the recruitment process?
Yeah, I think what has been helpful for me with working with candidates is showing that I'm human and I'm myself. I think that's the first step to having a good candidate experience. I think after that, even if a candidate is no longer in consideration for a role, just letting them know and even reaching out, having reach outs every few weeks. Hey, I'm keeping an eye out for you. I know that I may have some roles coming up, and just saying like, I have you on my mind and keeping close in that way. And I think that's been helpful as far as future roles. As far as somebody that is in the process and potentially going to be the hire, I think giving them as much information as you can about the company, us, about the role, about what the hiring manager's leadership style is, which I try to get as much detail as I can before I speak with them. I think when you're able to give all of this information, they really feel confident and comfortable moving to the next rounds. You want them to feel that way. You want them to feel that throughout the process so they can go, they know going through those rounds, they're going to give it their best shot. And I thoroughly believe that I help my candidates, even if, let's say, they're not the best candidate in the mix. Personality is so important that they could be, and it's happened before, where they've seen that more of a leg up than someone that's the skills. And it's like, we know this person is going to ramp up quickly. So I would say I take a lot of thought into the candidate experience. I think a lot of that comes from my social work background, but I put a lot of care into that.
So what advice would you give someone starting out in recruitment today, Jackie?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is to keep yourself organized, your calendar specifically. Block off times in your calendar for you to do administrative work. Don't just keep it open, because when you keep it open, people are going to put stuff on your calendar. And you want to give yourself boundaries and space with your hiring managers, even with recruiting, because if you don't give yourself different time blocks, it can just turn into chaos. We don't want that. The other important thing is build those relationships early on with managers. They are, again, this is a partner role, and in any type of recruiting role, those are the people that are hiring the person. So if you build those relationships with them from the beginning, you will have success no matter what in this role.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline. It's been a great pleasure having you on the show. I'm sure the audience will also want to know where to find you, right? So where can they find you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. They could find me on LinkedIn, Jacqueline Abeel. I think I'm the only one. And I don't know that anybody has the similar name as me. I'm used to always being first, so I'm sure they'll find me right away in the search bar.
Great. And we have been in conversation with Jacqueline Abeel, Talent Acquisition Business Partner at the Kraft Heinz Company. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for more weekly episodes of All in Recruitment.